Okay. All right.
Good evening, everybody. And welcome. Sorry to cut off great conversation there, but let's get started. Tonight is the Town of New Canaan's Charter Revision Commission meeting. It's the regular meeting, and today is Tuesday, February 3rd, and we're opening up the meeting at 5 o'clock with people in the audience. Welcome, and people on Zoom. Welcome. We'll start off the meeting with a roll call and then a call to order. And Secretary Jameson.
Thank you very much. Mr. Case?
Here.
Ms. Corbett?
Here. And also, could people put on their mics too so everybody can hear?
Nancy Case is here.
Okay, Ms. Holmes? Here. Ms. Jameson here. Mr. Kynes?
Present.
Mr. Lampert?
Present.
Mr. Labrie?
Here.
Ms. Neville?
Here.
Mr. Paulo?
Here.
Mr. Perret?
Here.
On Zoom?
Yep.
Yes, okay, great. And Ms. Willett? Here. Thank you. Everybody is here.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to be very mindful. We've got the full agenda. If anybody wants a copy of the agenda, we've got copies up here. I'm going to be mindful that we have our colleagues from the town council. I don't know how many, so I'm going to keep count as people arrive so I can make sure that we can manage the front half of our agenda so that we give plenty of time for town council members to come and speak with us. So I'm going to be quick as we go through some of the items. The first is going to be the minutes, and which were for the January 20th meeting, the regular meeting. Does anybody have any comments? I have two small.
Someone is sharing their screen.
Someone is sharing their screen.
Whomever is sharing your screen, if you could turn that off.
I think it's Bill. I'll probably have to sign back in again. I'll do that right away.
Okay. Okay, it was Bill. All right. Okay, so I'll just, if nobody else has comments, so on the January 20th comments, I'm under section 5, just a couple of ones, second paragraph, Dan Radman, current chair of P&Z, and if you can strike out, and a member of the Affordable Housing Committee. Is many responsibilities, but that's not one of them.
Right, sorry.
No, that's okay. And then paragraph 5, there's a reference to P&Z. And just, if we can just make that an ampersand or an and sign, P and Z, it now says PZC. And that's all I had. Anybody else have any comments on the minutes?
You got my corrections, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Were there a substantive that you need to share?
Mostly grammar and a
Okay.
couple.
Okay.
I'll move the minutes with those changes.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Second. Pick one so Karen knows. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Minutes are approved. Thank you very much. Okay, now we take this opportunity. There are some members of the public, both here and on Zoom. Is there anybody here who would like to say a few words? Mr. Bromwitz, I can always count on you. Thank you. And as you know, we have 3 minutes.
It's 10 to 9.
Okay, 3 minutes starts now, right?
Oh,
Thank you.
you got to give me a few more.
I gave you time to get to the table.
I've been trading the Chinese markets almost lost.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I sent a memo. So I said, this is brief of what I wrote. So now 3
To whom
minutes.
did you send it?
When?
I sent it to the CRC distribution
Okay,
this morning or this
I see it.
afternoon.
RA Financial.
All right.
Got it.
All right.
So this is a brief summary because I think it's important.
Okay.
I strongly disagree with the comments made by Selectman Steve Call to the commission. Yes, our town is blessed, not because of autocratic government, self-interest and self-dealing, but because of the residents and their civic contributions. As Selectman Call requested, let those who seek revision provide evidence of failure. In the absence of that, stewardship requires restraint. End of quote. I present my well-founded evidence for why the Charter Revision Committee must implement change for the benefit of voters. Yes, the town charter was established in 1935. However, the annual budget in 1916 was $22,600. For the fiscal year 26-27, it's $186.9 million. In 1930, our population was 5,400. Today, it's around 21,300. That worked in the 1930s, doesn't work in the 21st century. The proposed changes to our charter made by concerned citizens are not novel. They are necessary. The recommended changes are essential to address the issues faced by a growing municipality. It is a deceptive claim to say that of the 169 towns in Connecticut, the overwhelming majority would exchange their charter for New Canaan's without hesitation. Why then do most of these towns elect their Board of Finance, Planning and Zoning Commission, oversee public works procurement, and even vote on their school budget? Because progress and change lead to best practices. Now for some evidence. New Canaan has the highest bonded indebtedness per capita of 169 towns in Connecticut. That artificially lowers your mill rate. Our property taxes have gone up geometrically, increased at an accelerated rate. The appointed Board of Finance has never questioned or materially adjusted the proposed budget of the Board of Education or the approved BOS budget to appoint the Board of Finance. Why? That one's out. There's no oversight of spending, cost overruns, and non-competitive bidding on contracts awarded by the Department of Public Works. The Board of Selectmen simply rubber stamps cost overruns. For example, for 9 years, the town of New Canaan has spent $31,237,000 more on health insurance than the town of Darien. The town of Darien has more residents and town employees. The town's audit.
Sorry, just can you wrap it up in 20 seconds? It's exceeded the time.
The town's audit committee chair just resigned. Okay? Interference by the Board of Selectmen to get the independent audit, citing internal control deficiencies. Problem with that, this lack of internal control and procurement cited in self-dealing by it could cost the town its A bond rating. Okay, so
Okay, so right.
Selectmen's calls, comments to the appointed Charter Review Commission exemplify our executive board's attempt to influence the independence of the Charter Review Commission. My last paragraph. The charter is outdated, broken, and in need of revision. The other 169 towns in Connecticut have responded to changes.
And she.
Peter, would you be kind enough to put yourself on mute?
Got it.
Thank you. Okay, right. Wrap up, 5 seconds.
The charter is outdated, broken, and in need of revision. The other 169 towns in Connecticut have responded to changes brought on by growth, increased spending, and a need for transparency, responsiveness to the people, unlike our government. Our residents seek revision to the town charter had offered overwhelming evidence of future stewardship demands change. Fellow citizens, make your voices heard. Go to the website and fill out the questionnaire. Demand best practices for the future of your children, family, and the welfare of the town. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry for
Okay,
overspending.
thank you very much. And your comments, thank you for sending those to us. We'll post those to the public back. Okay,
Thank you.
you.
Thanks for
Okay,
your service.
and anybody, you're welcome. Anybody else? Yes, Mrs. Pierce.
Hi,
Hi.
Sarah Pierce. I just really briefly wanted to address this document in the record. I know it's got all my chicken scrawl. The Town of New Canaan Planning and Zoning Commission, sort of their manifesto that was in the record of this commission. I just wanted to draw attention to the strangeness of a document like this, which was created without any public hearing or public input. It references the broader public interest several times, but there was no opportunity for the public to talk about this. You know, I think my largest takeaway from this is that if you're asking yourself how a 1.4 acre building parking structure got put in a residential neighborhood, if this document were true, like I would urge you to continue asking that question because it is completely silent on the St. Luke's case. I want to draw particular attention because not everybody is aware how broad planning and zoning's legislative capacity is, including rezoning, and that actually changes what you could bring in court. And I believe that New Canaan is overly reliant on residents going to court over land use actions. I don't like to talk about this number, but I think it's important, is that, you know, they tell you at the outset it's $350,000 to bring a land use case through the first appeal. So the idea that this is an acceptable way for us to be talking about our land use policy is something to really consider. On that note, tomorrow we have a hearing at 10 a.m. And so I would ask you to keep in mind, I don't know if it's Ira or Pete, but the lawyers who will be defending St. Luke's in court tomorrow are also the lawyers who are presenting to you. And I think that's something that should be, you should be able to ask questions about this case. And I don't know if Bertram Moses is in the best position to answer them ethically. I think the last thing I would say is that there's been a lot of speculation about voter behavior, and there is an MIT voter lab, but there's a man named Charles Stewart who is aware that New Canaan is revising its charter, and he's made himself available to everybody. And I would urge you, you know, I found this planning and zoning document to be profoundly lacking in humility. And I would ask this commission to demonstrate some humility, that it is impossible to know what the people of New Canaan want without first asking them. So
I just, sorry, could
Yeah.
you just refer, what was the document referring to?
the planning and zoning,
Was it, was that
the
submitted,
town of New Canaan planning and zoning.
was that in the public packet?
Yes, it was
Okay.
signed by everybody,
Okay,
but
the
there
letter-
was,
the letter to
so
the-
far as I know, there was no public meeting or public comment.
What's the date on that one?
There is no,
It's
oh, January 16th.
It
I'm
was
not
the-
sure which public packet it's
was
in.
It was the January 21st one, yeah.
And I'm sure we're out of time, but if anyone had any questions, because we have 2,000 pages of record, if you have a specific question about our case, I would be happy to answer it.
What's the hearing tomorrow?
So the hearing tomorrow is about, there was a large volume of documents, mostly letters from the St. Luke's parents that were added to the record after it was closed. We are seeking to add a screenshot of the metadata. So the PDF is labeled letters submitted after 2 p.m. on the date. But the PDF was, public hearings closed March 31st and the PDF was created April 4th. And so we're seeking to add that to the record.
So not charter.
Bill?
Okay, no, I was just
Okay.
clearing, make sure we weren't supposed to
Yeah,
know
hold on just a
something
second.
else.
So Bill Perrette first and then
All right.
Todd.
Could we get a copy of that document? And then there was somebody referenced, there was a name reference. Could we,
It's the
maybe it's
letter.
clear to everybody, but on the Zoom, it's not clear to me. So just, if we
Yes,
could get a
I will,
copy of
I
that.
will type up my chicken straw and
It's in the, I'll send it to you, Bill, but it's in the public packet and it was the letter that was sent to us by Dan Radman.
Okay, fine. That I know. Good, thank you.
That's the one she's referring to. Todd?
Yeah, is the presentation being made because you feel elections are better? Was that the outcome of what you're saying, or is that planning and zoning is something different? I'm just trying to understand the point of what we're saying. So,
yeah, no, I'm saying right now, I think even members of this government planning and zoning has enormous sway over private property. Unlike, if town council writes an ordinance, it applies to everyone equally. Planning and zoning is a very unique legislative power that they can write a law that only applies to a small number of people. So the idea that, the institutional, all of the residents who neighbor institutional uses, if we have a law made that specifically targets us, the idea that we would be able to marshal the entire town to elect a different selectman based on sort of a confusing, it's a very strange burden.
sure, no,
Yeah.
but I just want to make sure, so the point is that you believe that planning and zoning should be elected as compared to,
For their
Is that-
legislative
yeah,
capacity, absolutely.
all right.
Anyone who writes law, I think, should be elected.
all right, and then you had made one other statement, that they say it's 350,000 for appeal.
My husband would argue
Yeah.
we're past that.
Right. And is the philosophy that if it was elected, there'd be less appeals? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, there's something really uncomfortable and sad that happens in a lot of land use cases. If people are like, I would like to join this case, but my kids are going to college. So we have people who've joined our case who are not participating financially just because it's wrong. And I think we have to keep in mind that voting is the way that most people in town have access to government. And you shouldn't need $500,000 just sitting around when, I think the most upsetting thing about our case was that a Westport parent came in, and this broader public interest was, he made a broader public interest argument to the New Canaan Planning and Zoning Commission, a Westport resident. So that's something that I would like everyone to consider.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
your
so
input.
much.
Appreciate it. Okay. Anybody else here in the building? Hearing none. Anybody, just raise your hand if there's anybody interested in commenting from the Zoom.
I am, but I don't know how to raise my hand.
Oh, that's okay. Who's speaking?
Laura.
This is Laura Dice.
Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Please, Laura.
Okay, thank you. My name is Laura Dice, and I'm speaking today regarding the issue of elected versus appointed roles in our town. As a longtime election poll moderator, I believe the position of town clerk is one of the most important and yet most underappreciated roles in New Canaan. That underappreciation likely stems from the excellent job our current clerk performs. This position demands the most qualified individual possible, someone accountable to residents and independent of whomever serves as first selectman. The town clerk is also responsible for certifying election results, a duty that requires impartiality and therefore should remain an elected position. You have also discussed the history of the town treasurer in recent meetings. Given the nature of that role as well, it should remain independent of political influence and continue as an elected position. With respect to planning and zoning, we should seriously consider following the example of other towns by making the Planning and Zoning Commission an elected body. For at least the past 6 years, I have watched nearly every planning and zoning meeting. Currently, residents have no meaningful recourse short of filing a lawsuit when they believe the commission has failed to consider the needs of abutters. In some cases, residents have even sold their homes because they could no longer enjoy them peacefully. An example would be the owner of a mid-century modern on Laurel Road, whose home was now going to overlook, through her immense windows, a new 2-story garage. Without going into extensive detail, a very recent example includes the approval of a parking garage in a residential area, which required a zoning regulation change to accommodate the applicant. This, despite a public outcry from many neighbors and other town residents. We need a mechanism to hold the Planning and Zoning Commission accountable for its decisions. When the electorate feels the commission is not adequately considering homeowners' needs, residents should have the ability to influence the future direction of the commission through the electoral process. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, then thank you. All right, we're going to move on. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. They are greatly appreciated. We're going to go into some time now before we engage with our colleagues from the town council. Just a commission discussion. We're going to start first with, and continuation, the theme, public survey response. The most current report has been posted to the public packet. Do you want to say a few words, Commissioner Holm, Commissioner Willett, just where we stand?
Yeah, so we have basically 49 responses in the second packet, that's up from the 19 that we received initially after the first 2 weeks. It's basically what we've done for everyone's knowledge is we have put people's names who have participated at the end in the back, so people can see who has actually replied. And we have I've directly lifted the comments word for word verbatim and put them into the questions that they respond to. So misspelling, typos, oddities, they're all there. I know we were going to basically potentially use a large list that we used for the POCD, but based upon some issues and some hesitations, that list will not be used for the 14,000 at this point. So I think we need to figure out a better way and how we can communicate and get more people replying to the survey I know we've gone, right, Karen, to a number of entities. I've seen, for instance, the preservation group basically put out an email on their behalf. Emails have gone out from other various entities, but we are still at 49. And I think we will need to close this down by around March 15th is the date we originally discussed. Yeah.
So a couple comments, and sorry, I should have told you to put your mic on there.
Oh,
Let's just leave it on
Sorry.
that's okay.
Sorry about
I
that.
think we can hear you. A couple of comments. First of all, thank you to both Commissioner Holm and Commissioner Willett for leading the efforts there on the survey. A couple of thoughts, as Jennifer mentioned. Thank you to so many organizations who have put out a link to the list. They don't send out the survey, they send out the link to the survey. We get all of the data. That's how it works. And with thanks, great thanks to the Sentinel, NewCanaanite.com. I don't know if the advertisers picked it up, have they? But
Yes.
Okay. So, 3 media outfits that are going and sending out the link as well. In addition to what we heard, Preservation Alliance, I think, sent it out to there. There's so many trusted databases, if you will. The library is sending something out. The Aggie from the senior center at Lapham is going to send something out, and they're hosting us so that we can talk to their folks that attend. So they're advertising if you want to come and hear what the commission is working on. The library is going to do that. The senior center is doing that at Lapham. The Rotary Club, the Exchange Clubs, anybody who's interested in hearing from us, we're going to get that message out and give them access to the link. As you know, the first selectman put that in her newsletter starting in December. And if we could just post it on the New Canaan website right up front. Also, of course, if you get into the commission's webpage, it's there as well. So there's many different ways in which we can communicate with people who are interested. I want to make 2 points, however. Number one, this created list that was out there, 14,000 names, potentially 14,000 names, was put together over years, even predating the current administration. That was a compilation of collections of emails from different groups within the town. And I'll point out that since we don't have a generic source of the information, that it was actually information that came from different sources, there is you'll find it on the website. When you go up to sign up for, let's say it's the First Selectman's newsletter or emergency information, so forth, there's a question. How is this information? How is my email address used? And can it be used by anybody else? And the message back from the town is, no, the information you provide will be used for emergency notification purposes only. If it will not be given to any other vendor or organization or used for any other purpose. Okay, so I mean, that's out there. And so since we don't know the source, but we can make use of organizations who are willing to use their email addresses and so forth for their constituents and promote the Charter Revision Commission, I think that's the best source of our ability to get out there. I'll also point out, I spoke with Town Planner Carey about the POCD. Remember, we still have to be ultimately voted on, right? So the communication that's coming in now on the 49, actually 2 people are listed twice in the last page of that document. We'll just edit that out. But this is going to be a continuation that's going to be elected. The voters will have a chance to speak up over the next, how many months are left? 9 months? When you join this commission, presumably you joined it to understand the research and the input that's coming in from many different sources about any of the articles in the Town Charter. I did not, and I think most of you, if not all of you, did not come with a preconceived notion. We wanted to hear about what people are thinking about, the pros and the cons. Getting that public document out there, that public input document, the public doesn't have the opportunity always. They'll have an opinion. We're welcome anybody's opinion. But in terms of the research that 11 of us were appointed to do, we're still in the process. There's so much great data that's still coming in. And I caution everybody, the urgency to get all the public data we can possibly get. Let the public hear the same kind of research we're hearing, and then allow them, if they choose, to submit their input, which are always, always welcome. So I just want to caution everybody. I will also tell you, when I spoke to the town planner, that the greatest amount of responses came the first week they posted their survey.
Yeah.
And then they only had 3 weeks to get them out there. And they sent it out twice. So they used that data twice. I just respect the privacy of our citizens, and that if they didn't choose to receive anything from us, I'd rather rely on those organizations who are willing to promote us and get their feedback and so forth. So we're going to lean that way. And again, there's going to be plenty of time for public input as we, as a commission, start forming our thoughts. And so that the report that goes to the town council on May 4th, we really have an opportunity for many people to comment on it once those reports are written. Okay? So let me I just wanted to praise that so people don't think there's no conspiracy theory, nothing. We're making the best use of the resources that we have. Okay, and I want to thank Commissioners Holm and Willett for the work they're doing, because we're getting some good input. Yes.
I'd just like to make a proposal.
Yes.
We know that we've got the Democratic Party as well as the Republican base.
And they're putting us forward.
Yep. We haven't really satisfied or gotten any access to the unaffiliated.
That's right.
So we do have money in the budget. Would we potentially, I know it's old fashioned, but send out a letter, perhaps a letter with the ability to actually come and access the link with some directions to get input that way?
I think it's a great suggestion. I would suggest that we be further along. That the input that we, as a commission that have done the research or doing the research, have served on boards and commissions or going through the process, let's get a little further. And then in order to communicate with everybody to say, hey, this is what our thoughts are. We haven't even come out with that. We're just taking in input. I'd rather the opportunity for the public to weigh in once we put our thoughts forward. That would be my
I'm going to counter that. I'd like to be able to get at least more input as fast as we can. And then, yes, we can continue to have that dialogue when we do have another hearing, but at least it's going to take a bit of production to get a letter together, put it in the mail, etc., to get that going now, to get at least captured in the survey.
Could send a postcard
Yes, exactly.
with just a link on it saying, participate. That'd be the cheapest way.
That's the least expensive,
Yeah.
definitely.
If you think that's
We've all
worthwhile.
done this.
Well,
Bill.
put it to the vote of the
Yeah.
meeting. Yeah.
I mean, any thoughts on that?
Bill,
I think it's early, personally.
I
So
think,
I have a thought on it. I thought I heard Jennifer say that the Republican and Democratic caucuses were going to send a communication out. And then when I thought you came up with your suggestion, I thought it'd be in parallel with that, treating the independent
Yeah.
voters exactly as we treat Republicans and Democrats, which is a big constituency. And I don't think, I mean, I would think quite to the contrary. It's almost late because, given the time schedule we have, we really have to hurry up and get that out. So I would encourage, as Chris said, let's get moving with that. Postcard would be fine.
Yeah.
but you have to send it to everybody in New Canaan.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
or we might be able to figure out how we could get.
That's too complicated.
Yeah.
That's
But
too
either way-
complicated and it's discriminatory.
Which is?
To figure out who to unalign.
Well, the voter records have
They-
what
they-
party.
The voter record-
Don't you think that's as good as we've got in New Canaan as
I
the
think
voter?
you send it to everybody,
But isn't that the voter records
every resident.
that we use? In the past, we have.
I think Chris
Yeah.
is right, because I think one of the questions I wanted to ask is, I respect what Kathleen said about, discriminatory, but the Planning and Zoning Board used that list of 14,000 people not too long ago. So I just think we want to get as much information as we can possibly get to evaluate it and weigh it so we can come up with an important recommendation.
Anybody else have any comment?
I think Chris has an excellent idea. I think we should support what he's
Mhm.
suggesting.
Let's do it.
Okay, Angela?
Yes, I think if we do send out a communication, it should be to all New Canaan residents. Don't overestimate the extent to which the political parties have addresses for every person that is registered with their party. And it would be discriminatory, I think, only to send it to a group such as unaffiliated. I would rather wait a little bit so that there's something a bit more substantive for the public to comment on. You know, the issue that arises currently is a lot of people just don't think about this stuff because, you know, they're pretty happy with how things are. As word gets out, what we've come up with, who we've talked to, the ideas, I think that will help a lot of people in town to start to put, you know, their own ideas together that could be communicated with us.
Joe?
The public is providing input from their experience, their life experience, their real estate experience. So I think having them respond to something that we put out, really secondary or tertiary. It's where are they now? What are they happy or unhappy with?
Anybody
I
else?
think Chris's idea is the right one.
Steve?
Just, is it about 50 cents a person? I'm just wondering.
Postcard, we'll find out.
We'll find out. I'll get the
Yeah,
numbers.
I mean, if
we
it's
have
in
money.
that range, that's great. I just wanted to make sure we're not spending.
I think too, people, I'm sorry, basically do take a while to do things. As you normally, what we saw in the survey was when it initially went up, we got almost half of the list that we've got today.
Yeah.
Right? And then things tailed up and then we had a bit of a surge. So I think the sooner we make tracks on this, the better. And the sooner that people will potentially respond, or they may wait, it's up to their discretion. But you know, it does take a while for people to move on things. Yeah.
The number of voters we have is 14,000, I believe. So.
We could do by household probably rather
Yeah.
than.
Well, you've got two.
That's cheaper
6,000
and it's,
per household.
So you have
yeah.
Thinking that, I don't know that, I don't want to say what number it is, but it's way fewer than 14.
Russ?
So I agree with Chris, get it out earlier. And I think that there's no downside to us gathering information. And it also potentially helps get a broader than just single issue perspectives. But you've got two choices. You can use the tax rolls, which is property owners, which may not get to the person who's actually a voter or renter, or you do it based off of the voter registry, which I think is the better way. And to Chris's point, you got to send it to everybody.
Yeah.
Everyone on the roll.
Just a suggestion, on the card, if we can include a QR code that takes you directly to,
Sure. we
as
can do that.
opposed to a long script.
Yeah, no, we're
that
not
you have
doing
to
a
type
long,
it, yeah.
no one needs to type. I agree.
Mhm.
I can't do that either.
We're into QR codes, absolutely.
We love QR
Yeah.
codes.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. Yes, Karen.
I just want to comment that I think getting it out early is okay, but if we're looking for more responses, I think we're almost certainly going to get more responses once there's a specific issue or decision or near decision that's out there.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Fair
if we
point.
send it too
Yeah.
early, they're going to forget that that was an option.
I thought of that.
Those
but
who
that's
are
just-
responding, as Joe points out, are those who have. an
Already
issue
know, right?
With a particular issue, so they'll respond, I hope. But those who don't know what some of the other items that we might raise, setting aside elected versus appointed, but there are other issues we haven't gotten to yet that haven't been out there, covered by the media or what have you. So I'd lean towards giving some opportunity once some more attention is paid to the full charter. Yes, Todd?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just premature. We're just being hyper-focused on one issue that we've been sort of going
Yep.
over here, and we're not really going over the whole charter. And we have a big obligation to the town to address all the issues, not
Yes.
just the ones that seem to be hyper-focused because people are just talking about it. So I just prefer to wait a tiny bit to get the main
Yeah.
issues out.
Okay.
The questionnaire covers all the articles of the charter. So
Right.
it's completely expansive, number
Yeah.
one.
It's kind
Number
of broad.
two, we also have a public meeting that will be scheduled at some point, so they can come and then build on what they said. So the questionnaire covers all articles of the charter,
What-
all 23.
But well into after the discussion from 11 people who've been appointed to actually study the charter and share with them some information that we're finding. So I just think you're going to get a much more substantive response once there's something to really sink their teeth into. But that's just my opinion. We'll begin the process to look at costs, we'll look at printing and so forth. By the time we finally get to that, it may be, we'll have more things out on the table that are worth
Right.
soliciting input from. So
There's a
let's
bit of a
begin
lead.
the process.
And
Okay.
There isn't a a prohibition from submitting two responses, right? I mean,
there's one
Yes,
person
we
who
do
has,
restrict
but then I actually reached
Oh,
out
you
to
do?
her and she actually meant to put her husband's name.
Okay.
For one of those.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right. very good.
because the responses are
Can we
actually
take a
different.
question from the floor from Marty or not?
Yes,
Can we
just-
do that?
I just want to be mindful of time. It's 5:35. Marty, do you have a comment that we're
Yes.
addressing now? You have to come to the, you have to come to the table, please.
Oh, sorry. I just have a
And
suggestion.
you are?
Oh, I am Marty Skrlunas, New Canaan. I'm on commission and committees. But my suggestion is, I think that analog could go really far. And if you could start out, let's say, simple poster for the 12 or so public bulletin boards around town, announcing this with a QR code, that could go far. And that would be a very inexpensive start. I, for one, am barraged by so many emails that, you know, I am searching for the top 10 most important emails each day and skimming past all the rest. So
And
that's it.
we're unsubscribing, which we also didn't
Exactly.
have the ability to do. So, yeah.
that's it.
No, absolutely.
It-
Remember, we're going to do things not just singularly, postcards. We're doing it, remember all of the
Yeah.
other sources that we're using for sending out the links. So
And,
thank
you know, the public bulletin boards I'm thinking of, for instance, are like you see at the library on 2 levels and
Yeah,
other
absolutely.
spots.
Thank you for
Yeah.
that. Yep. Okay.
Kathleen, have we thought about expanding, delaying the time frame? Why do we have to do it so quickly in March? Is there a reason for
What do we do?
for the survey?
Again, we'll
Can we
start
back
the
it up a little
process.
bit?
So Commissioner Neville was saying, why the
Okay,
rush?
why not?
Can we wait, et cetera? I think there's a mixed view here. That's
Yeah.
fine. Let's begin the process of
Okay,
how much is it
and
going to
then see if
cost?
it'll
What's the interest
delay
rates
it.
look like?
Yeah.
So forth. We'll be meeting again before we go to the next
Okay.
step here. So
Good.
let's table that. Okay, let's move on to the next.
Meanwhile, are we going to ask the Republican and Democratic caucuses to send out to their list, the survey?
Definitely, Bill.
Yeah, that they've already committed.
More
to.
that we can do and get them to maybe do it repetitively.
We
would be very
have,
helpful.
I just want to comment on that. Back to what Angela was saying, is don't overestimate the contact information that
That's
the,
right,
that the
Drew, yeah.
caucuses have for their people. We don't have email addresses necessarily for everyone. I don't know about on the RTC side, but what we've done is send it to people who've subscribed to the DTC newsletter, which is completely different than sending it to all Democrats in town.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
That's the
I-
same point
that's
about
good.
this one.
And you do have
Good input.
people,
Great.
you do
Okay.
have people like Garden Club and Men's Club and so on, so.
Yeah,
Those look,
Karen has done a great job in getting that out too.
Yeah, and I can circle back and see that those things were done. I haven't done that.
I'll take some of that list from you too.
Okay. All right, everybody. So we were going to ask the groups to comment on just an update on their meetings, but I'm cognizant of the number of town councilmen that we have here. So I'd like to start with that next and get them started. And I'm going to presume that there's no group, that everybody's going to talk individually. Okay. Okay. And so with anybody, can I have a motion to approve that we're going to move the agenda so that we can have, Judy, and second from Jen, all those in favor? Okay, we amended the agenda, so we're moving up the charter revision input from members of the town council. Who would like to go first?
You know, Kathleen, maybe we can find out by a raise of hands, how many people are going to talk so we can
Yeah.
estimate the time.
Correct. How many people plan to have words with the charter?
One,
One, two? Anybody online?
And one more in the corner, three.
This is
Great.
Eric Tunham. I cannot get my video to start, so you can't see me raising my hand, but I certainly have comments.
So four,
Four,
yes.
five.
Councilman Zonas, yes.
So,
You have to come to the desk
so
here.
it's a brief question.
That's okay.
Can a town council member decide to speak in response to other
No.
comments? So you don't have to have it.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Who wants to go first?
Is there a way, CRC, to get my video to work? I don't know why it says the
I'm-
host has prevented my video, has disabled my video.
That should be fixed.
Ah, voila.
Okay, thank you.
We're gonna let Eric Tudum go first. 'cause
I was
his face
asked-
You
appeared.
just won the.
And
Yeah.
Eric, for transparency, we try to keep the big picture on when it's this group talking for the YouTube video. So anybody who is on one video and we turn it off, I can always turn it back on.
All right, it's, let me just check time, 5:40, okay? And please be respectful of the, looks like five speakers?
Yes.
Just two more here.
Okay.
Let's do another show of hands, yeah.
How many people plan to say a few words to the charter revision? So we've got 1, 2,
4, 5.
Jen, are you, no?
Penny, are you speaking? 6? 6.
Okay,
So
six.
6.
Okay, and Eric,
I
okay.
was doing 8.
So I'm mindful of the time.
That's a good idea, Chris.
You know, keep it within 5 minutes would be ideal,
Yes.
and if you want to yield your time,
Yeah.
I'm asking everybody to keep it within 5 minutes. If you want to yield your time to somebody who's going to intends to speak more than 5 minutes, please be kind enough to do so. Okay? Eric, you've got the first up to 5 minutes.
Okay, I have up to 5 minutes to answer all 17 questions.
I think a little longer.
Why don't you focus on the areas that you want to get across? What 17 questions was he referring
It's
to?
just the
I'm
survey
not
that
sure.
was
Has
sent
he
out.
got 17 points or?
I was sent a list of 17 questions. There's no way I'm going to answer all of them in 5 minutes.
Oh, the
Um,
ones we sent to you. Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
these were the.
You
these were
don't
the-
have to answer.
And just so that everyone knows, these were generic questions that we ask of everyone. If you want to submit those in writing to us, that would be ideal. But if you have some key points that you want to refer to, this is your opportunity to do so. And we'll continue meeting it. Well, if we run out of time, we'll also have the next meeting. We'll welcome others who didn't have a chance to speak. So Eric, why don't you just focus? We've now cut into your 5 minutes. So why don't you ask me to
Well,
begin?
I would first say I had no idea I was only going to have 5 minutes, and I was sent a list of 17 questions. It's going to take a long time to get through them. I have not written answers to all of these, nor was I told I should be prepared to write answers to all of these. I'll
You
try
don't
and
have
hit
to
some
be prepared.
highlights. Well,
You don't have to be
I,
prepared.
there's
All right,
just
Eric-
no way I can
Eric,
get this done in 5 minutes.
All right, Eric, why would anybody else, why don't you give some thought to that? Okay, and we'll come back to you. Is anybody prepared to talk for up to 5 minutes right now? Anybody? Yeah.
I thought we were.
Penny's on her way.
I thought we were a panel.
Yeah, that's what I.
So, yeah,
Did you prepare as a panel?
I mean, I have some thoughts, but I did think it was gonna be.
Don't bring it up here as a panel.
It is, it meant to be. I asked the question, would you like to speak, as a group or individuals? So we're trying to, I'm just mindful of the fact that we are, thank you, eating into time here over this debate.
I'll go first. I just wanted to say that we didn't know it was 10 minutes.
We're just trying to, it could have been 30 minutes if only one person showed up. So we're just trying to, I listed 5:45 and the meeting ends at 6:30. So how we're trying to fit it in as best we can. If somebody needs more time, we can go to the next
And we have
meeting.
more
It's
meetings.
not a problem. We have plenty of time for everybody to participate, okay? I'm just trying to be mindful of the time that we have available today that was posted, okay, for our agenda. Commissioner Powell.
We have not previously restricted planning and zoning, which had 6 to 8 people present.
And we
did not
didn't
restrict-
exceed our time either.
And we didn't restrict anyone.
We
So
didn't exceed our time. I'm trying to be mindful of the time we have. So let's start.
We haven't exceeded our time yet.
Let's start, given the number of people that we have who each want to speak. The Planning and Zoning Commission had a smaller number of people who wanted to speak.
No, they had-
Let's
they had
begin.
3.
Let's begin.
Kathleen, I will do my best to speak in 5 minutes and hit some highlights,
Well,
okay?
This gal is up. Let her
This
go
is
first.
What would you like to do?
I defer, age before beauty. I don't
It's a joke. Come on, we need a little humor here.
All right,
Eric, you can go ahead
Erica, please.
if you're ready.
All right.
Thank you.
The issue of elected versus appointed has been one that's been discussed by many people several times. And in my opinion, there are many more pros to having appointed Board of Finance and appointed Board of Commission on Planning and Zoning than there are elected. I think there are specific qualifications and expertise that make those appointments and people serving on those two boards and commissions, if you will. And I think there's no assurance that you could get that expertise if those positions were subject to election. I also know that many people who serve in those capacities or might want to serve in those capacities are, by virtue of their employment in specific industries, barred from serving in such boards and commissions. So I'm very strongly in favor of maintaining appointed planning and zoning commissioners and appointed Board of Finance members. I had a question. It appears to me that the Board of Finance and the Audit Committee are the only two committees or commissions that require town council approval. So many of the others do not. And I would ask the Charter Revision Commission to take a look at that and consider why some require town council approval and most of the others do not. I have a question in several areas in the charter. It refers to items, notices, and information being published or being placed in a publication. I think that needs to be clarified because, number one, not everybody in town gets a newspaper. People get their news from a lot of other places. And if published can be covered by simply posting on the town website, I think that should be specified as a way for publication to actually occur. Let me look through. Now I'm going to try and flip through the pages where I had questions, specific questions, and get them quickly to you within my 5 or 5.5 minutes. I did notice that for something to go before planning and zoning, it requires a $50 threshold. I think that really should be researched. I think you're going to spend $50 on doorknobs, and I think we should take a look at raising that number. I believe strongly that members of appointed boards and commissions should be both electors and taxpayers. Let's see, published. I'm not aware of ever having received something specifically identified as a sewer tax, so I would like that clarified. And perhaps somebody can just correct me on that or straighten me out on where it is, because I'm not aware of ever receiving a notice of sewer tax.
Depends on where you live.
Yeah, it depends.
Okay. Okay.
I just paid mine.
Okay. Let's see, changed it. I think there ought to be some consideration of a public works commission. That's something that we should think about, whether it makes sense to form such a commission. Going quickly through the answers, my experiences working with the current charter framework has been fine. I think the town charter adequately sets out responsibilities for the town council. I've not encountered situations where the charter was unclear or did not provide adequate guidance. I am generally in favor of term limits, but I think we have to think very carefully about what those term limits should be. Should qualifications be required of members? Yes, I already said that. Elector and taxpayer. I think that pretty much covers the highlights of what I would have said in answering all the questions. I hope
Thank you, Eric. I just
Satisfied.
have just two. Then Todd also has something. So number one, on publication, this is for everybody's benefit. The publication requirements are under state statutes, and the first 2 pages of definitions basically says if state statutes are updated and thereby allowing us to have more flexibility in terms of posting and so forth, we will abide by the general statutes. In the meantime, we have to live by what it currently has. And I do understand that there is some work being done at the state level to make that a little bit more into the 21st century. So that's number one.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. And the one other thing, please be mindful of your actual, and I'll just, in the same question will go to everybody. This wasn't specific to the 17 questions, but if you follow your specific article, the one question that comes up is the question about accept, reduce, or reject rule. Right. And that is the budget as it comes to you from Board of Finance. If you have those three abilities, that's generally, if you operate under general state statutes, it's the accept, reduce, or reject rule, not allowing you to increase. However, because of we operate also under a town charter, there are a number of towns that do permit the town council to increase, but not to exceed what the original amount was. If you have any thoughts on that, or you can get back to us.
I had a thought on Board of Finance special appropriation. I don't know if that's the same thing.
No,
it's line item.
We'll revert back to you once we have that discussion. I'm sure others, your colleagues will bring that up too. Okay.
Okay.
Todd, I'm sorry, Todd had a question.
Yeah, Eric, first of all, thank you for your comments. You made a statement that the Board of Finance and Audit was subject to town council approval, and that should be looked at. I guess my question was, were you saying that everybody should be subject to it, or that Finance and Audit should not be subject to it?
No, what I'm saying is that the membership on the Board of Finance or in the Audit Committee is subject to town council approval. And I'm wondering why we don't have town council approval for all of the appointed
That's what I want to know. So you
positions.
think everybody should be subject to that?
Well, I think if there's if somebody can give me a good explanation for why all the others are not, I can be convinced. But I that's my first question is one of just clarification about why that's the case. I think an argument can be made for the case that all those appointments should receive town council approval.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Hillary.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me back here? For those of you I haven't met, I'm Hillary Ormond. I am on town council. I'm the vice chair, and I'm also the chairman of the Bylaws and Ordinances Committee. And I'm here speaking for myself as a member of the town council. I speak for no one else. I just wanted to make that clear. I'm also a lawyer by training. I was a litigator for several years, and I clerked for a Second Circuit judge. And there's almost nothing more sacrosanct in this country, even though it feels a little downtrodden right now, than our Constitution. And I look at our charter as a very similar document. It's not something to be amended on a whim. It's not something to try out for a little while. It really is something that that is supposed to be general and able to govern our town and the way it works. And to the extent there's anything that is less restrictive or less global and permanent to some extent, I think that should be explored before a constitution or a charter should be amended. So if there's another way to do it, like through bylaws and ordinances or policy statements, I feel like that should be explored first before we take the really big step of amending our charter. I just find it to be a very serious undertaking, and I so appreciate the time and effort that all of you are putting into it. We had a lot of people raise their hands to volunteer for this committee, which was wonderful and amazing. And we have such an incredible town of volunteers that dedicate time and energy to the way our town runs. And the town council took very seriously its responsibility to appoint people to this commission. And we're really thrilled with the work that you all are doing so far and the energy you're giving to this very serious task. So I wanted to make sure that that was clear. How much we appreciate the work that you're doing. I agree with a lot of what my colleague Eric said. As of now, I mean, obviously we will take whatever recommendations that you present to us incredibly seriously. I think I can sort of say where my gut is right now, but I'm certainly persuadable, particularly if there's evidence that really supports a suggestion that you all, as a really learned body, makes. For the reasons that Eric stated, my gut is to keep Board of Finance and Planning and Zoning appointed rather than elected. I think they really do an incredible job. They're never going to please everybody. Zoning is particularly difficult. And I understand what Ms. Pierce said about feeling like litigation is your only option when you feel like a decision has been made that's adverse to your interests as an abutter, or I think there are smaller steps that could possibly be taken to increase oversight over those boards a little bit. Like if planning and zoning, to Eric's point, perhaps there could be some town council oversight in the appointments. You know, perhaps it would need to be, instead of a majority minority rule where, you know, I feel like that majority minority rule, and this could go for all boards and commissions, the 2/3 majority minority rule is the floor. And certainly our charter could make that, could make it be a bare minimum, for instance, of party representation on boards and commissions. Town council is now a little bit more balanced. We have 6 Republicans and 6 Democrats. And so far, I think it's working quite well. And I think that what you see is that we all work together and party is irrelevant. And I agree with Eric on some things. We don't agree on others. I agree with Ms. Norton on a lot of stuff, and we don't agree on others, but that we have really fruitful conversations. I have yet to hear what specific issue, besides the St. Luke's garage, but setting that aside, I've yet to hear why electing planning and zoning and Board of Finance would change those decisions, make them more amenable to other people, or result in better decision-making. I think we hear words like transparency and accountability, and they sound great, but I do think, just as a member of this community, when you volunteer to serve on a board or commission, I get accountability every day at the coffee shop, and I think people on planning and zoning do as well. I do think that they're cognizant of the fact that they could be sued, and I think that that's a very big motivator to make a good and right decision. I think as far as a Public Works Commission goes, I don't know that that's something necessarily that needs to be a creature of the charter. Again, if there's we've created on town council through bylaws and ordinances, a utilities commission, an affordable housing commission, which I sit on. I think, again, there are less sort of really global impactful ways that policies can be changed without amending the charter. I happen to think that members of boards and commissions, I question the property ownership piece. And I think that was in the charter before, but I think that excludes a lot of people who might otherwise be great volunteers who would have a lot to say, that perhaps rent here, maybe they're in between homes, maybe they're downsizing, maybe they live in affordable housing. I would love to hear their input on things. What else? I'm here to answer any more questions. Oh, the accept, reduce, or reject. I'm really agnostic about that. I think to the extent that you stick within a budget that the Board of Finance has voted on, and it's a right dollar amount, then, and we're not messing with that, I might be convinced, but I don't have a position on that so far. If there's anything else, please let me know. But again, thank you for all the hard work, and I know that you all will be very considerate of the decisions that you make and thoughtful in this process.
Any follow-up for Hillary? Okay.
Oh, was there something else? Was there oh, that was the accept, reduce, or reject. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's an item within your, right.
And I look forward to hearing from my colleagues. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. Who's next? Time is of the essence. Anybody else want to speak on behalf of the town council? Yeah. Mike.
Mike Rogers. You know what? I have hearing aids and
Oh, sorry.
my phone's ringing in my ears. Let me turn it off. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And you're on.
Mike Rogers, Town Council. Speaking for myself, following Hillary is always a tough act. She's been a great vice chair and a mentor as I'm new to the council. And I can echo what she's saying. One of the first things you learn being on this council is the amount of volunteerism that goes on in this town and the level of professionalism that people bring to everything that they do. I mean, 90% of us are just volunteers, and everybody comes ready and completely up to date on all the latest briefs and ready to vote. It makes you realize that why the town's so well run, and it's been a great experience. That said, I guess I do disagree with Hillary on a couple things. I mean, the United States Constitution has several amendments to it, and as it's changed over the years, they've had to put those things in. And I see a town that's changing. I've lived here for 23 years. I came out from the city, and I was a Democrat in the city, and I didn't bother to change my party registration, and discovered very quickly that you were in a serious minority here. Well, that is not any longer the case. As evidenced by the town council, which is now 6-6, the Board of Ed just flipped to seat 2. And I think as us older folks, I'm 65, as we matriculate and move on and we sell our houses, and I think you're going to see more and more younger people coming out with families. And I don't know if they'll be Democrat or Republican or unaffiliated, but the town's going to change. And that change, I think the way it's set up right now, and it's not really on your list, but I'm going to bring it up, with 3 selectmen isn't really making enough transparency. My dad was in Charlestown in Pennsylvania, and down in Pennsylvania, that does not have this rule of having the majority party and then 1 seat. And the township I grew up in had 3 supervisors, and they were all lockstep. It was a Republican. They all were 3 Republicans. And as the township grew and more people came out of Philadelphia and moved there, the 3 farmers basically that ran the township were getting further and further away from what they needed. They didn't want to do a fire department. They didn't want to do a police department. They didn't want to approve any building or anything like that. And they couldn't really manage what was happening. And my dad actually ran and got on, and he became a supervisor. And the first thing he realized was 2 people can ice out 1 person very easily. So initially, nothing changed. And the funny thing is, unfortunately, one of the things I've heard on town council is, oh yeah, 1 person get iced out. So it happens today. This isn't going to the ancient past. I think as this town changes, that we need to really see, and I know that it was looked at 10 years ago and they didn't feel it was necessary. I think today it is. I think as we grow, that it's going to be important that we go from 3 to 5 and that we have 5 councilmen, because it's very easy to get 2 people to agree, much harder to get 3, and it makes for better governance. And for the folks that may be thinking, well, we'll always be a Republican town, you might not. You might want those 2 other voices there. So I strongly feel that, and I hope that you guys will consider that. The other thing that I've been hearing, and I've been watching before I came here, I've been watching your charter things, and it's been actually the most, of all the ones I've had to watch, they're the most interesting. There's a lot of conversation about the unaffiliated. I have to tell you, I feel like, we have there's tons of things that people can get involved in that are appointed. And there's nothing preventing unaffiliated getting on them. God bless, let them go do it, terrific. If you're going to run for office, I think you need to have a stripe. And this stuff that, the unaffiliated are not being represented, maybe we just need a bare majority and let people run. No, politics is about opinions, and people need to know where you're coming from. And I feel like let them, wear stripes so people know. I mean, I only ran in November. The issue in November was North School. That's not even in the budget this year. So what people were asking me about is not that important this budget season. But what is important, the Playhouse and unbelievably this leaf ordinance is what people are getting upset about. And that wasn't even on the radar screen when I was running in November. So how could you really know when an unaffiliated is running those, where they really stand and what you're really going to get? Make them come out of the closet and be who they are. I mean, there was no, I've been in the town for 23 years. I did my little thing for the patch and I'm on the board of STAR. I talked about my religion and, people knew what they were going to get.
So if I could be more specific, is there anything specific to the charter in your article for the town council? Anything that you want to, have you had a chance to take a look at it yet?
Yes, the only thing I do think we should be able to add. And I mean, truthfully, Eric covered it really well. I did feel like, the finance and the audit and all that, a lot of that stuff, I agreed with a lot of Eric, agreed with Hillary. I do think the Board of Finance should be appointed, not elected, as it should be audited. I'm on the fence about P and Z. I do think, but that's something that I'm not sure about.
Okay, great. Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Who is next? Jen, I see you raising your hand, but I think Maria Naughton had raised her hand first. Okay, thank you very much. And again, if anybody wants to add something came up and please submit it or reach out to us. We're happy to have you back.
Eric and Bill, if you don't mind, turn the video off if you're not talking. That way it goes big screen with the room for everybody watching in and on the recording. Thanks, gentlemen.
I shrunk this down a little bit just so I can get through.
Yep.
And I'm sure I'm going to write something else because I'll leave here and I'll have forgotten what I wanted to say.
That's okay.
So my name is Maria Naughton and I'm on the town council. I have some comments about the charter in general. Just to circle back on some of the other comments regarding increasing at the town council level, I'm a little bit agnostic on that, but I do think if that happens, it should not go over the amount that the Board of Finance approved. I heard one of your earlier meetings, you were talking about the Board of Finance being appointed versus elected, and I heard one idea of it being maybe hybrid. I think it's okay now, but I would support, if anything, a hybrid, half elected, half nominated Board of Finance.
We can comment on that later, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I thought I heard that discussed.
Can't be.
It can't be. Town treasurer and town clerk, I do think, I prefer to have them remain elected officials. One comment I had regarding Article 7 on the Board of Ed, since I did serve on the Board of Ed, I know we can't do too much with the Board of Education and they are a creature of the state, but I do know they do have to follow statutory requirements. I think it might be useful to have some kind of annual certification that states that they are in compliance with state statutes, just a compliance notification annually. As far as audit committee, it states in the charter that the audit committee conducts formal reviews to ensure compliance with legal, with financial requirements, but I think it might be useful to have them also include reviews of non-financial statutory requirements. So they oversee what's financial now required by state, but I think if you had them look at non-financial statutory requirements, that would be helpful.
Do you have an example of that?
Yeah.
Do you have an example?
Well, I would have to go back. I mean, I have an example on the Board of Ed. I know that. I mean, they recently, we had an issue with them forming a curriculum committee and it took a couple of years. So that was in the statute, but it was not being in effect. So then the committee was formed. They weren't following the FOIA rules. So I think there should be a way to, and I'm sure there are other non-financial statutory requirements across the board for every board and commission. But I can find out some more about that. But I think if you're going to do it for one, you should do it for all boards and commissions. You know, just something
I'd have
that
to
says,
think about how far you'd expand that though.
Yeah.
And who would direct that? I'm not sure.
well, the audit committee would be.
Yeah.
Maria, go ahead.
Oh, and the last thing, which came about as a result of our training this week, or last week, I think there should be something in the charter that says we have mandatory FOIA training. I think that's pretty important. Every board that's elected, every person that ends up on a board or a commission often is kind of left on their own to figure it out. So I think that should be in something that requires it annually or as boards turn over.
Doesn't have to be in the charter. In other words, it could be in an ordinance, or it could be in a guideline that we.
It could be, and that goes to Hillary's point, yeah.
Good. Anything else? Any other questions for Maria?
I'm just thinking if it went into an ordinance, it could come out of the ordinance. But anyhow, that's another.
Okay, good. Thank you for your input. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Todd had a question for you,
Just,
Maria.
you know, most of the ordinance we have are codified and accepted by the charter. There's provisions in the charter that accept them. So even though it's not directly in the charter accepts them and approves them.
Correct.
So it's in an ordinance,
Broadly.
it comes in broadly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Who's next? Yes. Kim Norton. I want to thank everybody. Everybody's staying on time, so I'm really appreciative. So thank
Trying.
you so much.
Good
Okay.
evening, everyone. My name is Kim Norton. I'm on the town council. This is my 5th year on the council. I have a PhD in behavioral health, worked as a psychologist at NYPD as a forensic psychologist. I've raised 4 kids in New Canaan. They all go to New Canaan public schools. And I'm also a small business owner and author and audio producer of a book. I would like to thank the commission for taking this work on. The town charter is the blueprint for how New Canaan governs itself. And it's important to start from the recognition that it is largely functioning well. A charter review should therefore be thoughtful and restrained, focused on clarity, accountability, and public confidence rather than change for its own sake. And I just want to add that I am speaking as myself, not for the other town council members. There's several areas I would encourage the commission to look at, and my comments will be framed mainly by charter article number and in order and themes. I'll try to move quickly through them. Okay, so with respect to Article 2, town officers, I believe that the town treasurer and the town clerk should remain elected positions. These are key roles with direct responsibility to residents, and maintaining voter accountability is essential for public confidence in financial and administrative functions. Independence of their roles maintains proper checks and balances, inspires public trust, secondary controls, and provides additional constituent services to electors. Article 3 raises broader governance questions, particularly around appointments. So I'm going to be a bit of a counterpoint to some of my colleagues, but we do sometimes agree, right, Hillary? Okay, I'm joking. And Eric, over time, the number of positions appointed by the first selectman has grown substantially, including key roles such as town attorney, which is appointed by the Board of Selectmen, tax collector, tax assessor, director of public works, town engineer, and numerous boards and commissions. I was going to name them all, but in the service of time, I'm not going to do that. But there's some that are in the charter and some that aren't. And for a total of 166 positions in our town government are appointed. In contrast, the charter allows elections for 3 elected Board of Selectmen, 12 town council members, town clerk, register, treasurer, 7 constables, Board of Assessment Appeals, for a total of 29 elected positions. So I was pretty good at math when I was in accelerated math, but I'm just going to say you can check my numbers. 85% of our town government appears to be appointed, and 15% of our town government appears to be elected. Appointments are an appropriate executive function, but the cumulative effect matters when too much authority is concentrated in a single office and can create a real and perceived imbalance of power. Even when exercised responsibly, perception is important, and public trust is strengthened when authority is clearly shared and subject to meaningful checks. I'd like to just talk quickly about some of the interviews that have already been conducted with high-ranking public officials who have generally validated, praised, and supported our current system of appointing 85% of town government positions. However, several interviews lamented the lack of civic engagement or interpreted it as a sign that everything was going great. Is public engagement directly or indirectly correlated with the fact that 85% of our government positions are appointed rather than elected by residents, distancing residents from those who represent them? I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm posing that to all of you. Clearly, advances in technology provide new ways to enhance civic engagement. I was going to talk a little bit about that with a platform called OpenGov, but I don't really have time to do that. But I was going to recommend what I call government on demand, like the way we watch TV and movies, viewing it, accessing when we want to watch government meetings at a time that fits into our schedule. And I don't see the charter as really having embraced technology, and it provides no guidance on how to use it to communicate and engage residents. And I think that's an addition worthy of your consideration. Moving on to Article 3, the first selectman in the BOS, duties of purchasing agent for the town. I support strengthening procurement language by requiring RFPs in a minimum of 3 written bids above a defined threshold. And the Board of Selectmen also acts as the purchasing agent for the Board of Ed. So given that, I would also suggest that they strengthen, or that you consider strengthening the language in the charter to require coordination between the town and the Board of Ed in areas where shared purchasing can save taxpayers money. Moving on to Article 4, this is the town council part, and I fully support approve, disapprove, or reduce appropriations. I don't think that should be changed. I also am recommending that the Ethics Board and the Audit Committee be appointed solely by the town council as a way to provide proper checks and balances. And as a caveat to that, I wanted to recommend a change to organization C4-6 to add a deputy chairman or a second vice chairman to the town council to fulfill the function of appointments that I just mentioned with the Ethics Board and the Audit Committee, augment communication and assure that all voices are represented when setting agendas, which are consequential to public discourse, transparency, and healthy government functions. With regards to the Audit Committee, Article 5, Section C5-29, powers and duties of the Audit Committee, I recommend careful attention be paid to items E and F, and that a clause be added that requires timely management responses to audit recommendations within 60 to 90 days and allows the Audit Committee to publish internal audit recommendations if town responses are not provided within a 60 to 90 day window. I'm going to hit on the Parking Commission, Article 13, C 135, powers and duties. I recommend adding the requirement of mandatory public hearings when significant changes in parking plans are proposed, especially when taxpayers will need to pay to park, merchants may be adversely affected, and town monies are proposed to be spent on parking machines, and residents have not asked for new parking policies and procedures. I'm almost done. Article, I might have to read this. It's Article 14, town employees and the Ethics Board. It reiterates what I already said, that the town council should appoint the Ethics Board so it remains removed from the executive branch in order to maintain checks and balances and provide employees with fair and unbiased procedures for reporting problems. Updating the Code of Ethics to include whistleblower protections would further reinforce public confidence in town government. And I was able to access a Office of Legislative Research report in 2022 about Connecticut whistleblower laws that would be worth looking over.
Sorry, can just interrupt on that?
Yeah.
Just, the town council does have the right to, of 7 members for the Ethics Board. Is that what you were referring to, or?
To solely be the sole appointee,
solely. Oh,
not
sorry.
to, in addition to,
Okay.
be the sole appointee, yeah. And then also Article 18, town attorney, I would recommend that the town council be included in the vetting of legal representation and the appointment process. Right now, they're not. Lastly, near and dear to my
What
heart,
legal representation, the entire.
the town attorney.
Okay.
The town attorney. Okay, lastly, near and dear to my heart is I'd like to propose a preservation commission that may combine the functions of historical review and historical district commission that can provide a framework and a long-term vision for preserving our historic homes, buildings, and natural landscapes, and identify financial resources to support that long-term vision. The Irwin House may have remained standing if such a commission existed. The fate of the 1913 library may have been on more solid footing, and cost overruns at the Playhouse may have been mitigated had a long-term vision planning been in place to address our aging historic infrastructure. Clearly, our town residents support the look and feel of downtown, which is comprised of pleasing, low-rise streetscapes surrounded by many historic homes and buildings, and the natural landscape surrounds of the moderns. Westport did a historic resources inventory and instituted a 180-day demolition delay rather than our 90-day that we have. If a 1% preservation fee on building permits is legally permissible and allowable by Connecticut state statutes, that could raise $1.5 million a year to be used only for preservation of buildings and landscapes. And consider adding to Article 16, Planning and Zoning, Section C164, under their powers and duties, that P&Z protect our architectural and natural heritage and enforce and follow our village district design guidelines from 2010. P&Z's duty to prioritize residents' enjoyment of their property, traffic safety, environmental safeguards, and resident well-being, peace, and solitude need to be codified into the charter and take precedence over commercial development. In conclusion, my overall hope is that this review focuses on maintaining what works well while making targeted improvements that enhance clarity, balance of authority, and accountability. I appreciate the Commission's thoughtful approach and the time you are dedicating to this important effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Kim. And I'm asking you, but everybody who does have prepared remarks, if you'd be kind enough to submit them and we'll put them up the public packet as well.
Great.
Any comments or questions for Councilman Norton?
Just a clarification on 60 to 90 days for what?
What part was that in?
Well, it was after.
Oh, 60 to 90 days was for the Ethics Committee.
Yeah.
That if there
To
is an.
resolve a complaint or?
No. Ethics Committee, over their duties involve overseeing internal audits. So, oh, I'm sorry, ethics. Ethics, that was the 60 to 90 day, I'm sorry.
So you want us to add 60 to 90 days?
Well, what I want to do is if there's no response to an internal audit and the audit committee has, that information, that they would be able to talk about it and publish the results. Right now, there's no timeline on
That's the audit committee.
Audit committee.
Or both?
Ethics,
It wasn't clear.
I don't know anything about ethics in the 60 to 90.
Okay, it's for audit.
You want to appointment things, so you want audit that 60 to 90 days to report out.
Right, but I also said that the town council should select audit as well, so that the town council could select audit as well as ethics. I did, but say that, and then also that with the audit, there should be a timeline on internal audits under their powers and duties.
And that was the 60 to 90.
That was the
That's
60
what
to
I
90
wasn't
days.
clear.
Yeah.
All right.
Todd?
Kim, first of all, thank you for all your thoughtful comments.
Sure.
And you had a lot of statistics there. Do you know what the statistics are with other municipalities or state governments or federal governments with regard to this 85-15?
Yeah.
Number you came up
That's a
with?
great question, Todd. And I tried to look up ratios, like what is the composition of other towns? And I didn't do a deep dive on that. I did not look at our DERG, our towns that are near us in Fairfield County. And I don't have a statistic on what is a good balance or what is kind of a range of what we want to see. But, I think it was a good place to start. I didn't know that myself and I was kind of surprised. So,
I think we have that data actually.
What do you
Yeah,
think
we
it
do.
might be at the
Yeah.
federal government level?
oh, excuse me.
90-10?
Oh,
What
and
it is
if-
at the federal government level?
do you know? It sounds like you know.
But I.
Oh,
You do know?
I don't think it's 85%.
What is it?
95?
That's the way it's way up.
Yeah.
What's 95?
At the federal government level, appointment versus.
Is that right?
Okay.
That's interesting. I've been
Is there a-
in a
Only because
local
the
town.
federal government has too many employees.
Sorry, Bill? Go ahead.
Only because the federal government has too many employees.
That's now.
Is there any other,
Exactly.
sorry, just a second. Is there any other town councilman who wants to make comments? Thank you, Kim.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Jennifer's
Thank
on
you.
this?
Kim.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Zonis. I'm just begun my third year on town council. And I do have to say, I've been trying as best as I can to watch all your meetings, and I'm just blown away by the amount of thoughtfulness and work you're putting into. This is just a huge undertaking. So thank you so much. I'm going to be very brief. I read through all the questions that you sent, and I was countering that with, the idea of, the question of, what problem are we solving for? And so I don't have the exact wording in front of you, but in my brief tenure on town council, I would say that I think things function very well, and nothing comes out and it has become like a major issue for me to bring to you and say, I'm not happy with the way this is running. In watching your meetings, I do have to say, I listened to a lot of the presentations, and I was particularly moved and affected by Todd Levieri's presentation. I think it's because I learned my job, honestly, by watching the Board of Finance, the first budget season. And when he spoke about having lawyers on that committee, I think of Tom Schulte comes to mind like a gift to this town, and people with expertise in bonding and municipal finance. To me, it is incredibly. It's just like a gift to the town that such exceptional people are willing to stand up and volunteer their time and expertise. And so I do worry, because I think in the real world, elections devolve into special interests, people who have, the time and the resources, and to focus on one particular, interest and rouse that base. That is what makes me opposed to having elected P&Z and Board of Finance. So I feel quite strongly about that. I think the only other issue that I sort of wanted to weigh in, my perspective, to a certain extent, I'm a little bit like Hillary, agnostic about the ability of town council. Right now we can reject or reduce. The only comment I would make in the 2 years, and now we're in the midst of the budget process again, is that I haven't seen one example where I felt that, wow, what we wanted to be doing was to be adding money. And I really think we all of us are united in taking so seriously the taxpayers and trying to keep that mill rate down. And so what I would say is, especially just like yesterday, I was with Christina in an infrastructure subcommittee meeting. We have parks coming up with Penny and our Board of Finance liaisons. I think that we do, in essence, we still have that opportunity, because we have the ability to question and look at those budgets. And if we saw a gaping need, if the directors of the town departments were to say, I cannot, clear those roads, I don't have the budget for the salt or whatnot, we have that opportunity before it goes before the Board of Finance. So that is why I would be comfortable leaving it the way it is. And that is my turn. Oh, and questions?
Any questions? No, for Jennifer? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
All right,
it.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks
Good night,
for
you guys. Thank you.
So let me just say, first of all, thank you to everyone who's shared their thoughts. Our next.
Eric has.
Eric, just a second, if I could just finish.
Come back, yeah.
On Tuesday, February 17th, we have some time available for anybody who did not have an opportunity to speak. You're welcome to come back on the 17th. Kindly let me know so we make sure that we've carved out enough time for how many people are coming. We do currently have 2 people. Somebody's approaching. Did you
She hasn't spoken yet.
Oh, Christina, I'm sorry, did you raise your hand? Did you want to speak to this group? Okay. Would you mind waiting till the 17th, or would you prefer to speak now?
We've got time. Don't we have time?
We have time.
We have time.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
we're not that
is that
rushed, are we?
okay? Well, there's going to be use of, is it this room or the one next to you? What's the next meeting, Deanna?
For what?
7 o'clock?
Board of Finance.
Okay.
So that gentleman right there has to leave.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all right, just let her go.
Okay, all right, okay.
There's a member of this.
All right, if everybody's willing to stay, Christina, why don't you join?
They'll take one more.
Yeah,
and then-
One more. I think
Yeah.
there are other people here who haven't had a chance. So I
Deposition,
wanted to-
we're all
You
used
can
to
either
it.
do it now or you can do it on the 17th, but go ahead.
Okay.
And Eric, I'm sorry, did you want to say something while Christine's preparing? Could you go ahead?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with a couple of brief things. On the current process where the town council can either approve, disapprove, or reduce the budget, but not increase. I'm satisfied with that remaining in place as the process.
Okay.
I also want to say that accountability is something that an individual assumes or does not assume. And by virtue of being elected or appointed does not change a person's accountability to those whom he or she serves. So I think, and we have plenty of examples in our history as a nation of people who have been elected and been anything but accountable to those whom they serve. So I just wanted to make that observation and point. And then one last observation, I would encourage you to speak with people who are sending out the survey, because the survey that was sent by the New Canaan Preservation Alliance very clearly encouraged that planning and zoning should be
Oh, yeah.
elected and not appointed. And I don't think that really, I mean, they're sending out a message in addition to the survey, more or
They're
less saying
lobbying.
if you're, you know, if you're interested in preservation, you've got to elect the Planning and Zoning Commission. I think that's I would advise you to advise those who are sending out the survey to simply send out the survey without a commentary on it. And with that, I will say thank you for your service. I know you're all working very hard and you're putting in a lot of time on this. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Kathleen, I'd like to ask Eric a question, if you wouldn't mind.
Go ahead.
Eric, when you said the survey was sent out and they suggested how people vote, what was that, in a covering letter when they transmitted the survey? I hadn't seen
Yes.
that.
Yes, it was a 2-page email, and the second page was strongly encouraging people to that we should have an elected P&Z.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing it up. That's very important.
It's on the cover. Mhm.
Okay, Town Councilman.
Okay,
Yeah.
my name is Christina
Thank you.
Ross.
Thank you.
I serve on town council. I've been on town council for 10+ years. Before that, I was an appointed member of the Park and Rec Commission for 10 years. So I have experienced firsthand the difference between being appointed and elected. And with that in mind, and having the years behind me on town council, I'd like to address the commission with some of my observations and recommendations for your consideration. The Charter Revision Commission has been appointed impartially, trusting that the independence is vital for identifying the changes the electorate and the government members may consider necessary to modify the charter. The town council needs to know whether there is any reason that prevents the commission from carrying out its duties freely and without interference. The town's governing structure mainly depends on the town's charter, which can be amended to accommodate a growing and changing town, ensure compliance with statutes, and adapt to the new technologies and processes that will improve how the town operates. This includes changing boards from appointed to elected and protecting the election of officers to strengthen checks and balances that benefit the town. Elected members are directly accountable to voters. Appointed members are accountable to the appointing authority, which is the Board of Selectmen. The Charter Review Commission responsibility is to ask the questions, research, discuss, and present the findings without bias, while offering options and addressing the public's demands for change and choices. Recommendations for increasing members on boards and commissions. An odd number of members is required to prevent a tie vote, while remaining aware of separation of powers. I recommend that the Board of Selectmen increase from 3 to 5, that the Board of Finance have the first selectman removed as a member of the commission. The Planning and Zoning maintain a 9-member maximum allowed statute by statute and 3 alternates. Inland Wetlands, 11 members, Fire Commission, 5, Police Commission, 5, and Zoning Board of Appeals, 9. This would bring the numbers adjusted to be able to avoid a tie vote. Separation of powers. Article 2 of the Connecticut Constitution provides in relevant part, quote, "The powers of government shall be divided into 3 distinct departments, legislative, executive, and judicial. The main goal of this separation of powers clause is to prevent different government powers from merging in the same hands. The Constitution accomplishes this by setting limits and duties for each branch that are vital for maintaining its independence and executing its assigned powers." So I will address each of the committees. I provided this list so you can see the elected are the ones highlighted in yellow, the departments are in blue, and below that is the appointed boards and commissions, red being the ones I will be addressing and the most critical to our checks and balances.
Christina, would you be kind enough to submit that electronically?
Yes, I
so we
will.
can- Okay, thank you.
Audit Commission. The town council is responsible for approving the town's financials. And for this reason, it established the audit committee by ordinance, which was later incorporated into the charter in 2016. The audit committee had been reporting to the town council until its independent structure was changed. Although the audit committee has full authority to investigate issues directly related to its purpose, its role is to assist the town bodies in fulfilling their respective oversight responsibilities relating to 1, the integrity of the town's financial statements, financial reporting processes, and the systems of internal accounting controls. 2, the annual independent audit of the town's financial statements, the engagement of the independent auditor, and the evaluation of the independent auditor's qualifications, independence, and performance. 3, compliance with legal and regulatory requirements that could materially impact the town's financial statements. 4, the evaluation of enterprise risk issues. And 5, overseeing the town's plan for corrective action. The audit committee's independence has been compromised by the Board of Selectmen, which requires its pre-approval for specific areas that the internal audits will focus on. To uphold the separation of powers, the audit committee should report to the town council, which is the town's legislative body, and not to the Board of Selectmen, while working with other town bodies and departments without interference. The Board of Selectmen's appointments of members to the audit committee also affects their independence and should be changed to an elected body while maintaining the same level of expertise described in the ordinance. Ethics Commission. The Ethics Commission was established by the Town Council through an ordinance and incorporated into the charter in 2016. The Ethics Commission has sought to investigate complaints, but the net results of these investigations have sometimes led to members' harassment, removal, or denial of reappointment and retaliation. The effectiveness of the commission relies on its independence and should not be beholden to an appointed body. To safeguard the independence and fulfill the responsibilities entrusted to them under the Code of Ethics, this commission must be independently elected. Board of Finance. Powers given to an appointed board that are greater than the powers of the town's elected legislative body are incongruent with rational thinking. To put it into context, an elected legislative body holds the ultimate authority, serving the source of power for the government, passing laws and approving budgets. The Executive Board of Selectmen serves as the executive branch, responsible for carrying out the legislative body's policies, decisions, and budgetary limitations. Boards are often have discretion in implementing laws. If a board holds absolute power in a specific administrative area, it can appear to bypass the legislative body. The main issue is that the Board of Finance, an appointed body with unlimited influence from the First Selectman's office, which once chair the Board of Finance and still votes on the board, has
The ex officio, just to correct that.
Yeah.
Okay.
has over time given the Board of Finance more power than the town's elected legislative representatives. The Board of Selectmen drafts the budget, which the Board of Finance then reviews and approves before it's sent to the town council for final approval of cuts. There's no other process for adding or raising budget items. reconsidering expenditures, or redirecting or approving on the direction being set. Over the years, the town council has highlighted the need for pre-budget discussions between the Board of Finance and the town council. The Board of Finance does not accept public input or hold public hearings. It reviews and approves the budget without input or understanding from the elected legislative body. This is in part due to the historical structure that lacks a clear separation of powers between the executive branch and the advisory Board of Finance. This process, as it currently exists, bypasses communication, deliberation, and input from the electorate and the town council being its legislative body. The Charter Review Commission needs to consider the separation of powers necessary to effectively maintain checks and balances, which are essential for delivering trust and representation in our system of government. During the prior charter revision, the commission was alerted to the problems that having the first selectman chair the Board of Finance posed for the Board of Finance, and chose to take the first step towards removing the first selectman as the Board of Finance chair. Now it's time to consider removing the first selectman from the Board of Finance as ex officio. The first selectman's role should be to report to the Board of Finance as a measure to maintain the balance of powers. The Board of Finance should become an elected body with the necessary expertise required to oversee all areas of the budget. The terms of elected office should be equal to those of the town council 4-year term. Planning and zoning. The Planning and Zoning Commission has seen a significant increase in the number of applications and the complexity of issues presented before them. Consideration should be given to splitting the Planning and Zoning Commission into 2 bodies that perform distinct related functions. One is Planning Commission. It prepares and revises town plan for consideration and development and regulates developer subdivisions of raw land for development purposes. The second commission would be the Zoning Commission, which controls how people use their land, establishes different categories of land uses, and designates districts where those uses are permitted. It also regulates the extent to which land in each zone can be used. Zoning provides a higher level of control than planning. A developer cannot legally subdivide or prepare land for uses that zoning prohibits.
Christina, could I just interrupt you for just how much time do you need? And just being mindful of other meetings that are about to take place and
2-3 minutes.
Okay.
The Planning and Zoning Commission is an appointed body. Its members include a diverse group of professionals who may or may not have prior knowledge of planning and zoning regulations, but they learn about the process and regulations over time. The process for conducting appointments through interviews is far from perfect. As the first selectman mentioned, she may not know the nominees, and experience is not always required. New members join as alternates and may serve at the discretion, sometimes for decades. The learning curve is something all boards and commissions experience, and diversity in professional backgrounds and skills is always appreciated. Planning and zoning, as we know, it should be 2 separate commissions. Such a change would not prevent current members from continuing to serve if they are reelected, nor would it stop someone interested in serving from running for a seat in an election. Each commission should have alternates, and regular members in its seated membership should total an odd number. The goal of the successful commission or committee is to have a well-balanced, cohesive group of professionals who understand and are committed to a prudent, fair, and balanced decision-making process. This allows for interpreting the law and regulations protecting the town's welfare and character, while enabling to grow and flourish in a controlled manner that's consistent with all components of supporting development, property rights, and values, all in keeping with accountability and the electorate at large. Board of Selectmen. The board currently has 3 members. The first selectman and 2 selectmen. Its small size has often been used to limit effective communication and control information. For example, in a group of 3, applying the majority-minority rule means that 2 members from one party can hold discussions effectively from form a caucus and exclude the 3rd member. If a minority member talks with someone from the opposite party, it could be considered a meeting and thus fall under the FOIA rules. This has been a problem, and the best solution is to increase the number of Board of Selectmen members to 5. clearly define their administrative responsibilities, increase transparency, and introduce more checks and balances. A strong board of selectmen is needed to balance and oversee the board's responsibilities. An increasing number of selectmen would be a welcome step towards a more open, transparent, inclusive form of government. Inland wetlands. The commission's purpose under the sections 2236 and 2245, inclusive of all its protect, is to protect the citizens of the state by establishing provisions for the protection, preservation, and maintenance and use of inland wetlands and watercourses amid minimizing disturbance and pollution. The commission is currently appointed and its autonomy and control seem to have become established over time. Some towns have taken firmer stance on protecting wetlands and addressing violators. There is little public discussion about their approach and what should be protected. Their position is not new, but has been developed gradually in a way that reduces, diminishes small property rights and favors developers and nonprofits. Additionally, this approach diminishes the value of preservation and property values, but to what end? There's no accountability for the overwhelming cost this has imposed on the taxpayers. The heavy-handed approach to overregulating residential development rights has not gone unnoticed. There has been a need for transparency and an open, fair balance in this process. The Inland Wetlands Commission should be elected and accountable to the voters.
Are you done? I'm afraid that I should have said, come back on the 17th. I'm sorry.
I can come back.
I want you to come back on the 17th. I think we've lost people. And if you'd be kind enough, maybe if you submitted your written statement, we could use the next time for Q&A.
Yes.
Which is, I think, probably
I
more.
prepared all the backup in the statutes and legalese to the presentation I just made.
Right.
And
can you send that electronically to us?
I can, but do you want the hard copy?
Sure. Yeah, but then we'll post that, and then it'll give us a chance to
Thank you.
to reread what you've just read to us and
another
the other
couple days
material,
of reading.
and then give you proper time for Q&A, which I'm sorry, we're gonna have to cut you short there. I'm gonna also apologize to everybody else who had plans to say something. We're scheduled for the 17th, and there are a couple of items here on the agenda that I will follow up with email, not for a conversation back and forth. Attorney Bamonte was prepared to, we've been sending a lot of questions to Attorney Bamonte to respond to a number of things. And I know, Nick, that you had prepared a fair big response. With your permission, is it okay to have you just write back to us in terms of some of the answers to the questions that you had? Is that okay?
Certainly. Good evening, everyone. Yes, I actually prepared written responses to the questions that would effectively summarize what I would have said tonight. So yes, I will distribute that, and we can take it from there.
Okay, and it won't be subject to dialogue because that would constitute the meeting. So take the information, we'll take it up on the 17th, but it'll be good information. So anybody else, any other closing remarks? Okay, so the meeting is on the 17th. We'll make sure that we have plenty of time for everybody to speak. We do have the town treasurer and the town clerk speaking to us, as well as any other members of the town council who have yet to speak or if we have some follow up. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, second, all those in favor, say aye. Karen, you got that?
I'm Angela.
Okay, thank you. Okay, everybody, thank you. Thank you for everybody's input too.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you all.